I am going to attempt the impossible and live stream this into the Mama Gym and Tonic group. Didn't work out very well on Wednesday, so fingers crossed. I am a total techie dunce. Sure, look, it wouldn't be like me now if it worked. Here we go, great. It's just great. Okay. Okay. Okay, this is great. I think we're working. Perfect. No, I'm going to bring that back up. All right. So we are on, we're on. So very welcome to everybody who's joining me. I see that we have 7 participants, which is great, especially for a Friday evening. Sure, what would you be doing, mammies? It's a bit of a rush this evening for me, my children, and I am broadcasting from my mommy's house because I definitely wouldn't get the quietness that I need for this for a whole hour without being interrupted. So I'm just going to let a few more people come on, and I hope that I can retain your attention for a little bit. I will really promise to try not to waffle on too much, as I tend to do. And really, I'm relying on you guys to keep me on track. So what you'll find is that the bottom of your screen there, you have Q&A, but you also have chat. So really chat is great because chat just comes up for me on the side and I can see anybody who's posting, or you can also put it into the Q&A. So what I am looking for is over the course of this webinar is like that it's very interactive, so that I want to get your feedback. I want to try and tailor it as much as possible to those of you that are on the webinar. Excuse me, but I also want to to address any questions and any issues that you have either now or throughout the course of the webinar. So please continually write in your questions. Please continually write in any issues that you have that you would like to address, because it makes life a lot easier for me when it comes to the end. So when we go to do the Q&A, they're all there and I'm not waiting for you to type them all in. Annette, you have your hand up. If you want to just type in a question, either here on the chat or type it into the Q&A, I'll pick that up in a minute or two. Okay, so look, we have a few on, so I really just want to get started. I want to record this so that I can send it out to anyone who's missed the webinar. And okay, so what to expect. So what I want to try to do for you is to have a good talk about pelvic floor dysfunction, the symptoms of pelvic floor dysfunction predominantly. We will talk a little bit about the anatomical issues. That'll be something I'll cover much more detail in the MamaLates program if you want to go and do that and find out really more about the in-depth details of what's happening in your body or that isn't working as well as it should. But for now, I'll just talk about what are the symptoms and how we can improve the symptoms, possibly relieve the symptoms, but most importantly, to improve your quality of life. And that is the bottom line here. No matter what is wrong, no matter what course of action we have to take to get there, it's that we do improve our quality of life and really possibly even like open up a whole new life for ourselves, where we're not worried about you know, having accidental leaks. We're not worried about restricting where we go, how far we go, knowing where we're going, having to run to the toilet just before you walk out the door every day. You know, going to the toilet 4 and 5 times on a trip to the shops, or you know, loads of other things like that. Being afraid to jump on the trampoline with the kids, or just even run around with the kids. So like those things, to somebody who doesn't understand, you just couldn't possibly understand that or connect with it. But when you experience that, when that is your, you know, day-to-day experience, it's really difficult and it really limits you, and it can be very frustrating, and you know, it impacts you so profoundly in your life. But it doesn't just impact you profoundly, it impacts, you know, everyone around you, your children, your partner, your family. And you know, there are hundreds of thousands of women living with symptoms that are disrupting their quality of life. It might be very, you know, early stages. It might be very, you know, what would you say now, like not a very like severe degree of maybe urinary incontinence or lower back pain or things like that. But the thing about pelvic floor dysfunction, the thing about really weak core, is that it doesn't get better, it gets worse. And until you address it, you're really, you know, you're on a downward slope from there. So I try to address as many issues as I can, try to talk you through them, try to get you to understand and have a much better concept of what it's all about and how it's all connected and what you can do to try and improve it and what kind of exercises you should and shouldn't do. As I said, we'll do the Q&A towards the end. That's okay, Annette. I wasn't sure what to do myself, to be honest. So if you do have a question, just pop it in. And that goes for anybody else. Just pop the questions into the Q&A or onto the live chat there. We'll do the Q&A towards the end. If you do stay till the end, I will be taking all the participants from this webinar who are on live and the participants from Wednesday's webinar, and you will go into a draw for a chance to win a full MamaLates program. So that is starting on Monday, but we'll talk about that later on. So anyway, look, basically, I suppose what I should really introduce myself, because I know there's a lot of you here that know me, maybe have been to some of my classes, that we've worked together in the past, whether it was in regular classes, pregnancy, postnatal. So, but for those of you who don't, my name's Alison, and I'm a mom of 2 small children, and I'm also a qualified pre and postnatal Pilates instructor, pre and postnatal fitness instructor. I've just finished a really in-depth training on pelvic floor dysfunction and rehabilitation, and that has really helped me in my construction of the MamaLates program, even more so than what I would have been delivering in the past in my own classes. So I've been teaching for about 14 years, and over those 14 years I have learned a lot. I've heard a lot. To say I've heard a lot from mummies is an understatement, and to be honest with you, before I had kids, a lot of it shocked me and I couldn't comprehend what in the name of God they were talking about. I'd read the theory, I knew like the steps that they should take in order to, you know, rehabilitate and work the muscles that they needed to work, but I really had no concept of what it really meant and what the impact was in life and what the cost, and that's a big word, is what the cost is to your life for not addressing these issues and just letting them go. Okay, so that was just all I wanted to say. It's who I am, what I do, and for you to kind of have a bit of a concept of where I'm coming from. So we're really here to talk about pelvic floor dysfunction. So there was two things that I've been running over the last while that you may or may not have seen, and one of them was an abdominal separation self-check. So there was an ebook and a video on how to self-check your abdominal wall for separation postnatally. And the other thing then was the urinary incontinence tests. So they were, you know, they're just tests that I like to use with customers just to try and scale our symptoms and try and scale where we're at. Just because, you know, maybe you got through the test and you didn't have any leaking doesn't mean that you're not on that scale. There's, you know, obviously you could have the real urge to go, you could really be bursting as soon as you're finished. So there's loads of things. But the first thing I want to do is include as many of you as possible in this. So what I'm looking for is for you all that are on the call, there's 10 of you there, to put in to the box, type in 0 if you didn't do the abdominal check, and type in 1 if you did. Okay, so that's what I want to know first. Did you do it and didn't you do it? So if some of you have done it and some of you found that you have a separation, it's going to be worthwhile for me to address that first off. So if you just type in if you did or didn't do it. Okay, and then, so can everybody just do that? And as soon as you've done that, then if you've typed in 1 that you did do it, can you then type in for me 1 for I didn't find any sign of abdominal separation, and 2 for I did find that I had abdominal separation. So I know some of you are putting up there that you didn't do it yet, so it's worthwhile having a go. But if you haven't done it, what I'm going to do is post the links to the free guide to self-check, including the videos, and I will also actually on the Mom's Gym and Tonic you're going to find the urinary tests as well. So if you haven't done those, you can give them a go over the weekend. If you are not a member of the private group Mama's Gym and Tonic, please go ahead and join us there, where you'll find loads of things, including challenges that we run regularly. Oh God, really sorry to hear that now. Oh yeah, I know. Like, sometimes, who's that, Serena? Yeah, sorry, Serena. You know what it is? It's Gmail, I think. They tend to go into the promotions folder immediately. So if you do sign up for anything, just keep an eye on the promotions folder. And I was going to say to you that if you drag it across your inbox, any future stuff will go straight into your inbox. Okay. So is there anybody going to tell me? Okay, so good few of you there found that you did have abdominal separation. Okay. So I think Adele is on there. Let me just see. So Adele, I know you have your abdominal separation. Would you mind just sharing if you found any, we'll say, improvement in your abdominal separation since you've started doing the MamaLates classes? I know they're only once a week, but I think you have. Just if you wouldn't mind sharing your experience, I'll read it out in a minute. So if you don't mind just getting typing there, that'd be great. Okay, so the two real issues that we want to address in the MamaLates program is abdominal separation, which is very prevalent postnatally. So basically what happens is the abdominal wall, in order to make more space for your growing abdomen, having stretched as much as it can, the connective tissue that runs down the middle between the say your six-pack muscles, basically that just stretches and stretches and stretches, thins out, and then separates to create more space. You know, the recent statistics are some are quoting 80% plus of all pregnancies result in abdominal separation. Some are saying 90% plus. You know, I've read studies that are saying like that they reckon that all pregnancies. A lot of moms will naturally come back together, will naturally show no signs of abdominal separation post, it would say post 6-10 weeks after baby. But for a vast majority, the reality is that it stays there. And the difficulty is that if you don't know that you have an abdominal separation, if you don't know that you have it, you could at best be inhibiting your recovery, and at worst be making it much worse by the types of exercises that you decide to do or that you opt into postnatally. Now that doesn't have to be like 6-10 weeks postnatally. It could be 6 months down the road, it could be a year down the road, because no more than, you know, pelvic floor dysfunction, it's not something that just gets better. If you do have an abdominal wall separation, it will recover to a point on its own, and that's usually in the first, say, 12 weeks postnatally. Thereafter, if there is an abdominal separation, you do need to take action. You do need to try to do certain steps that are going to help you recover. And the recover is the building of your body and strength, tone, condition back up from the inside out. So there's such a thing as intra-pressure, as like an internal pressure in your body. So every time you do any, for example, a movement like a crunch, so you take your head and shoulders up off the floor, we start doing the abdominal crunch. That actually presses the abdominal walls out. So every time we do a crunch, there's a pressure forward. Now, it doesn't have to be a crunch. It could be lifting your baby. It could be carrying shopping. It could be doing weights in the gym. It could be running. It could be like there's running more so for the pelvic floor, but like really anything that stresses the body is putting an internal pressure constantly on that outermost superficial wall. And if there's a space, it's pushing that space further and further apart. So rather than healing your body and rebuilding your body and restoring your body back to full function and full health, we're actually restricting that recovery at best, as I said, or possibly just continually separating those muscles so that they're just pushing further and further apart. It's not unheard of that you could check or be checked for abdominal separation postnatally and have, you know, a good bill of health in terms of separation if there's no signs of separation. You could head off to the gym and start doing high-end abdominal crunches, or, you know, other things, weightlifting and things like that. Maybe stuff that you were doing pre-pregnancy. And what happens literally is that this connective tissue, while maybe it didn't separate, it's much thinner and much more stretched out, and it's very vulnerable. And even though it hasn't separated, the vulnerability is there, and you start then putting that pressure on again, and that can lead to abdominal separation postnatal, which is really the worst case scenario, that you have stayed good, and then just at the end, when you think you're trying to do the best thing for yourself, you're actually not doing the right thing at all. So that's really important. So I'd encourage anybody that's watching this, whether you're live here with me or you're watching a replay, download those that free self-check video and do it and check it. Like you'll be surprised that you will find some sort of a separation there, particularly if you have had more than one pregnancy, if you've had multiple people say they've had multiples, like twins or triplets, you're obviously much more likely to have that abdominal separation. When you're checking for your abdominal separation, make sure that you have your fingers this way on your abdomen, so that when you're pushing your fingers down, you start pushing down between the abdominals right in, nice and low, just above and below the belly button to start off with, and you're holding your fingers in this way, so that you're trying to put either one finger, and so what you'll find is the abdominal wall just pushes up around this finger. Now you might be able to get the finger right down into that space, or it might be quite high. So if it's quite high, there's a good activation in the muscle behind the separation, the superficial abdominal separation. If you're able to get the fingers right down, it's going to show less activation in under your body. But how your body works is from the inside out. Like, that is how it got into that state, by stretching and being pressurized from the inside out. So we need to rebuild back into the inside out. And that abdominal, like, six-pack muscle, the superficial muscle, that's the last thing that's going to come together. It's really about getting the right activation, knowing how to activate the muscles correctly, so that everything is drawing in from the inside out, till we get that healing effect all the way through. And it's layer by layer, and it does take time. I don't want to get sidetracked now, because I want to come back to the doing of it, but really, I really want to over and over explain to you that the technique is not difficult. It is very simple, but it's in the doing of it. So while some of my ladies who come to me for, say, postnatal classes, whether they do or they don't have abdominal separation, whether they do or they don't have pelvic floor dysfunction, we work on this really deep core contraction. And they're coming once a week, and they definitely report improvements. But at the same time, it's the doing of it, whether it's 5 minutes of just that technique every single day, would be better for you nearly than once a week for 40 minutes or an hour, whatever it is. So it's in the doing of the technique, it's in the doing of the exercises, religiously committing to it, that gets results. And that's why I've decided to do it as a 21-day program rather than like 6 weeks or doing it 3 times a week. It's about saying to yourself, right, okay, this is where I'm at now. I'm not happy with what's going on. I have to address this issue. If I don't, I'm on a slippery slope down to wearing pads, if you're not already wearing them religiously. If you are, patches, possibly considering surgery, all these other things. And like, literally, be assured that that is your, future self if you don't address these issues at the beginning. So the reason I decided to do 21 days is because, sometimes it's, especially as the busy lives that we have as moms, it's hard to keep your focus on it. It's hard to consistently, be good and do everything. But what I wanted to say was, okay, this is the beginning, this is the middle, this is the end. It's 21 days, it's 3 weeks. Before May is out, you could have a whole new life, not just a whole new body, not just a whole new function. It's about the quality of life. What way would your life be different going into the school summer holidays if you had full control of your body? You weren't worried about going on plane journeys, you weren't worried about going on car journeys, you weren't, running to the toilet every time you go anywhere, and maybe only having a dribble because you have this urge to go all the time. So the 21 days, but it needs commitment. It's about committing to doing a little bit, but doing it religiously, using the technique, watching videos. I give you everything that you need. We'll talk about that later. It's not about doing that, but it's about just understanding that, it is so easy to bring function back to the body if with a little bit of effort. So a little bit of effort really brings huge changes to your life, and I just want to really hone in on that. Okay, so just want to go back to what Adele said there. So I just asked Adele, had she found much? Now she's in like really early stages of postnatal, but did have the abdominal separation when I checked her. So her feedback here is yes, definitely so, an improvement. Probably should do the exercise a bit more often, but the Pilates classes have certainly made me more aware of the core and how it's all connected. I agree that I was probably making abdominal separate worse because I didn't realize I had it, and I was thinking I just needed to lose weight. If I hadn't gone to Pilates, I probably would have started exercising and not being suitable. Yeah, absolutely. And you're just going to be in a worse state after that. So that's really talking about abdominal separation. But if we talk about pelvic floor, So pelvic floor dysfunction takes in the entire, say, center of the body. So it's all inclusive. And there's three, we'll say, functions through that area. The pelvic floor itself is a muscle. It's like a hammock of muscle that runs from the pubic bone to the tailbone in under, suppose, the base of your body. And the function of that is to support and lift and enable good function and good workings through each of those different openings in that area. We want it to be lifted, we want it to be strong, we don't want it to be tight, we want it to be flexible, and we want it to be functioning well. Now obviously if there's trauma to that due to childbirth, due to the weight of babies, things like that, that can be stretched. You could use function in it, but like any muscle, it's about activating it correctly, doing it repetitively, and building strength and flexibility back into that area. So we want it to be as flexible as we do strong. So we don't want it to be tight. And that's where you start to see the function come back, you know, and the feeling be restored to the body, that you are in full control of all your capacities, as they would say. Okay, so the question I want to ask you is, imagine if you didn't have to worry about accidentally, you know, having a leak if you have a stressful situation like a cough, a sneeze, laughing, jumping, going on the trampoline, going, you know, if you were able to run without feeling that pressure down. Or, you know, I've certainly experienced ladies who would report like fetal incontinence as much as urinary incontinence. There's also the issue of pelvic organ prolapse, and all of these things are so common, like you can't believe it. And what's really frustrating is that they're not talked about. So there's a huge lack of education around and knowledge around these issues, that they are very common side effects of pregnancy and delivery, that they are hugely prevalent across the population of mummies in the world, and yet they're not really being talked about. They're not being discussed. There's no education from a medical perspective, either prenatally or postnatally. There's no one talking about it. There's no one educating you. And so what happens is it becomes kind of a bit of a taboo issue that nobody's talking about. So therefore, when you have it, you feel like maybe you're, you know, the only one. It's very isolating, and it's very frustrating to know that like women are suffering in silence, and there's so much that they can do very easy and very quickly, and that's probably the biggest frustration that I have, is that it's so easy, and it's so quick, really genuinely so quick, and that, you know, the effort is so small compared to the benefits when, you know, you are suffering like that. And that's what's really frustrating about it. And it's very isolating, and they're so, as I said, the issues are just so common. And like, I would nearly go as far as to say that like every mom common, like it mightn't be you after your first baby, you know, 6 months down the road, you've got all your function, there's no issue. You might have had a little bit of leaking at the beginning and you're all great. You've had your second child, you've had your third child, you're maybe in your late 30s, you're into your 40s, possibly even older, and your hormonal changes are kicking in as well. So you have this kind of thing that started as just a little bit of a problem, started to become a little bit more of a problem, and so you get to a stage where now it's just becoming a big problem. And so while it might be varying degrees of the same issue, I would go as far as to say that there isn't really a mom out there that isn't experiencing it or will experience these symptoms. So it's imperative that we educate ourselves. It's imperative that we take action, and that we like honestly, like we go through pregnancy and we lose our body shape, and we maybe put on a bit of weight, and so we are very quick to address those issues, whether it's the weight loss, or whether it's, you know, toning up the backside that's dropped down behind your knees, or, you know, trying to just get back into a little bit of shape by doing X, Y, and Z. But we're like not educating ourselves, and we're not getting into the frame of mind that we actually need to build up the body from the inside out before we start doing things that are possibly breaking it down. And the the thing about pelvic floor and core muscles is that whether it's your abdominal separation that you see as the symptom of the problem, whether it's urinary incontinence to some degree, fetal incontinence, whether it's, you know, painful intercourse, whether it's prolapse in you know, bladder or the womb, whether it's what else, sort of lower back pain, like back pain, can't bath the kids without feeling like your back is going to break, like lifting the kids out of the cot. I mean, you know, just having to carry them around unexpectedly. And the after effects, that the thing about it is that they're all the same. They're all coming from the same point of weakness, the same point of wear down, we'll say. And the good thing on the other side is that they are all solvable through the same system. So whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a combination of those, you can address them all by doing the same thing, and it's as effective for each one of those. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that you know, it's there's so many different things, you know, about it. But the other thing that I wanted to say to you is, like, in my research for doing the program, my main, say, expertise would be with new moms, because I obviously deal with new moms on a daily basis coming into the MamaLates class. You know, the classes that I run where the moms bring the babies. And so I can deal with, we'll say, or I'm dealing with the natural issues that are to be expected in the early stages postnatally. And so the expectation is that, you know, some or a lot of these moms might have abdominal separation, might be suffering with leaking, might have things that we need to just work on and get back together and all of that. But really, in the research, I was going to say to you, I was dealing with women who are much further along the road, like not, you know, kids that are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 16, 20, 40. And their stories are really much worse and like shocking. I have to say, really, I'm as frustrated as I was shocked and horrified. The stories of how women are living. And that has really motivated me to power on much more forcefully than kind of I was planning on doing, because I really feel that this is a message that should be much more prevalent among all mediums, like whether it's at the doctors, whether it's at your, you know, your prenatal exams, whether it's at your 6-week checkup, whether it's just, you know, it just should be everywhere. It should be information that you're so familiar with that you don't even think about it, that you just do it when, you know, the time is right, or when you feel like there's something that needs to be addressed. There's a real sense of just live with it, put up and shut up, and because no one's talking about it, it's so isolating, and you know, you feel like you're the only one. And believe you me, let me tell you right now, you are not the only one. You are in the majority, and you know, be confident in that there's not something wrong with you. You didn't do something wrong. You're not, you know, you're not in the minority by any stretch of the imagination. And yes, there is so much that you can do very quickly to relieve so many of the symptoms that these things bring. The other thing is that we talked about surgery. You know, some of the women had considered surgery, had looked into surgery, and actually I've come across women who actually had the surgery, having lived, like, you know, really a lesser life for so long, and they eventually took the plunge and had the surgery, and by all accounts were living new lives, and that was great. But my feeling is that that was not, you know, that was not the option that they should have had, at least at the beginning. I believe with all my heart that 90% plus, maybe even more, could relieve their entire symptoms without surgery. Now, I do believe that there are, you know, instances that surgery is absolutely the way to go. However, if you have if there's a possibility that you could do this yourself with just a little bit of effort, isn't it worth it? Like, isn't it worth it to try it and like see how you get on? So a little bit of effort, yeah, definitely goes a long way. The other thing is Kegels. So we come across Kegels all the time. Like, if you do any research in your pregnancy for what you should be doing to improve your pelvic floor, and certainly postnatal. If you if you've been living with symptoms of pelvic floor dysfunction, urinary incontinence, anything like that, you will have looked it up, and Kegels will be the thing that's there. And Kegels definitely has a place, but it is becoming more of a kind of an old school approach. There's a lot of research coming forward showing much more efficient and effective techniques that much more effectively engage and work the pelvic floor muscle group to keep it as inclusive as possible without being a really tightening and forceful pressure down out of the body. So the newer techniques are what I personally use more so, and I do believe that they're good. The other thing to say is that, you know, pelvic organ prolapse is a real issue for a lot of moms, and Kegels would be contraindicated. A lot of Pilates would be contraindicated, even though we'll say Pilates would be touted as kind of the thing to do for any one of these issues. Pelvic organ prolapse needs to be really specifically monitored with I would say, a women's health specialist physiotherapist, someone like myself who's in conjunction with someone like myself for who's well qualified and educated in terms of postnatal issues. However, even I would say I couldn't, you know, individually take that. I would be much happier working in conjunction with a physiotherapist who's working with you on a one-to-one basis, who's monitoring your situation, and that we can modify and adapt it. So it isn't a case of one size fits all, even in this as specified a program as this is, how you know, specific it is to restoring moms' bodies back to good function and good health and good strength. So you can imagine how little of a normal exercise plan that you should be participating in. Do you know what I mean? So just take that on board. Okay. So just to give you an idea or an outline of how does it work, what I will try to do is give you all the resources, give you all the tools, try to support you as much as possible. So I had two options when I was delivering this program. I could decide to sell it as a series of videos that you can purchase anytime, and you can go ahead and, you know, do them. And while that would be grand, that wouldn't be good for me. I mean, that's not what I would be happy with. I want to try to bring what I bring to my personal classes to the people who can't come to my classes, whether you have no access to classes, whether you you know, I've got two kids. There's no way in God's earth I could have gone to a mother and baby class because I had a girl who was just about to turn 2. Like there's so many reasons. We're working, we're busy, as my friend Gemma says, the juggle is the struggle, and it really is. So finding time to do it. The other thing is that when I designed this, like it's something that I would even really like to see my own customers doing, because one class a week is great, but you know, so if we were to look at the 21 days of this program, so if you were to come to 21 classes, like that's over 6 months of classes, and it's once a week, and so there's 6 or 7 days in between classes. If you're doing this, you're intensely focused on doing and redoing and redoing. So not only are you getting the results in 21 days that you get in 21 weeks, but actually you're probably getting 5, 6, 7 times the results, because you've been in it and you've been living it and you've been repeating the technique over and over and over. And so the benefits, as I said before, lie in the doing and the redoing, and that's what it's all about. So I just wanted to give you an example of, we'll show you a testimonial as well. I tried to pick the most extreme cases because I wanted to show you that, like, absolutely everyone who has any symptoms of this sort will see a change, will see an improvement, will see things, you know, starting to change, starting to come back. So I'm giving you the first example of this lady who came to me. She was in her 70s, and her 5 grown-up children, I would say they were 30s and 40s. Wearing pads consistently for 15 years. Before that, she'd been wearing pads on and off if she was going anywhere like at all outside of the house for probably, I would say, another 15 years prior to that. I don't think this lady had even spoken to a doctor about this. This is how isolated she felt and how, you know, embarrassed she was feeling. And I suppose her age as well lended itself to that. But anyway, her daughter brought her along to me, and I took her for a one-to-one sessions. Now, in total, we did 6 one-to-one sessions, and when I say they were basic, they were so basic. You can imagine like a 70-odd-year-old woman who maybe has never done this before, has all these complications coming in. You can imagine how basic it is, much more basic than what I am delivering in the MamaLates online program. However, 6 weeks into the sessions with me, she was able to report that not only was she, you know, seeing all the improvements and strength and blah, 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 she wasn't wearing pads anymore. She had been going out to the yard, she'd been going to town and not wearing any pads and having no leaks. Now, even for me, who knows the theory of it and who knows the things, like, even still, I'm just amazed when you see how profoundly somebody can respond to things that appear to be so simple. And that's what's important. But it wasn't coming to me. Like, I'm nothing special. I'm only here to facilitate how to do it for you. It wasn't coming to me. I was showing her, no more than what I show you in the videos, how to do it and what to do. And she went off and she did a little bit every single night before she went to bed. She was religious, she was committed, and she was amazing, to be honest with you. She was absolutely amazing. And I took her, like, you know, once every 2 months or 3 months or 6 months then. And that's 2 years ago, and she's still flying along and no pads whatsoever. And I think that's probably as extreme as it gets. And so if you're wondering, can I help you, then I believe 100% that I can help you and that I can show you what you need to do in order to see the changes for yourself. But just getting back to the 21-day program, the reason, as I said, I want to do 21 days, that I don't just sell you a product that you can just go ahead and buy. I want to be with you. I want to make sure that you're doing it right. I want to make sure that there's progression, so that you start in, you know, at a certain level, that I'm giving you a progression very quickly, then I'm giving you another progression, and then we work on to a maintenance program as well, so that you can do that over the course of the rest of your life. Now, for the founding members, I'm offering lifetime access, so you can do the videos, you can keep the videos for life, and then anytime I repeat the MamaLates program, which will probably be, you know, maybe once again before the end of the year, that you can jump back on and come back in with me and join the group and let's go again. And you can do that free of charge. Now, that won't always be the case, but for founding members, I want to do that. I want to keep making sure that you're on track and you're going along at a good steam. There's a private Facebook group attached to this, so that we have motivation kind of to keep you on track, to stay right. Okay, we've said we're committing to this. I want you to get results after 21 days. I don't want this dragging out for 6 months. I want to start here and I want to end here, and I want you to say to me, this is how far I've come. This is the way my life has changed, and you know that you have kind of brought those changes for yourself. I also have a full ebook on how the plan works, and the symptom scales and planner, 21-day planner. There's piles of things in there. I have a full video library done breaking down each and every exercise. So we'll say in the first video there might be, I don't know, say 10 exercises. So each of them are broken down. I've discussed what it is, how to do it properly, how to make it a bit easier if you need to, how to make it a bit harder if you want to, and kind of bring you along that like that. So you can refer back to them and to make sure that you're doing it right. We have question and answer sessions. You can send me the questions. We can start talking about it. I'll do a Facebook Live for you to address any issues that you're running into during the course of the 21 days. So it isn't a go it alone. It's the same as being with me on a one-to-one basis for 21 days and getting the best results you possibly can. It also keeps you on track, and you can say, well, look, I'm doing this for a reason. I want to get there. I want to get it done. Okay, so I'm going to share another testimony with you for a second, but A couple of questions that I really want to ask you. I know that you're learning stuff here, and I know that I don't have enough time to go through everything and to give you as much as you'd like. But how can I, or how can I help you on this? What would you like to see me doing to try to help you here? So please continue to add any questions into either the Q&A box or the chat. So anything at all that's cropping up for you, please put it in. I want to do questions, answers. I want to have things to answer for you at the end of this. Okay, just gonna have a quick look through the things. I mean, I know that it will feel good, step-by-step program. I know, where am I going?